How much would you pay to have an artificial retina that lets you see in the dark, or a memory chip wired to brain that would guarantee you to never forget a birthday again? Brain implants today are the laser surgery of decades ago, fraught with risk, but a sign of things to come. Joining me now to discuss his weekend review cover story is NYU professor of psychology, Dr. Gary Marcus. Dr. Marcus, for the uninitiated, what are neuroprosthetics?
They're basically computer devices that you stick into the brain. You wire directly into the brain. They might replace lost function. The first neuroprosthetic is a cochlear implant that helps people to hear that wouldn't otherwise be able to hear. And later this year, there will be a retinal implant that does a similar kind of thing, allowing some people who would otherwise be blind to see.
Wow, it's really hard to believe that we're talking about implants in an organ as fragile as the brain. What are the safety concerns at play with the current neuroprosthetics?
Well, anytime you drill a hole into the skull, there are risks. And right now, the only way we can get a neuroprosthetic in there is to drill a hole through the skull. There might be better ways to do it someday involving nanobots or something like that. But for now, you have to drill a hole into the skull. And that means there's a risk of infection, of unstable blood pressure, and so forth, like there would be in any kind of major surgery.
And there are also questions about longevity. These devices are sure to last a long time, but not a lifetime. So you bring up an interesting analogy in your cover story on this topic, that these obstacles are similar to those cell phone makers had 20 years ago. Do you really feel they're surmountable?
Oh, absolutely. So there are a bunch of different obstacles. Some of them are on the medical side, so reducing infection. Some of them are on the neuroscience side. So we need to understand the brain better in order to be able to make the most powerful brain implants. We already know the retina well enough to do that, but we don't know how your memory works well enough. And neuroscientists will have to figure that out. But some of it's just technical, material science and electrical engineering. People have made so much progress on cell phones. I think there's every reason to believe they'll make the same kinds of progress in miniaturization for neural implants.
So on the long term, or the near term, let's speak near term, who do you see being the users of this?
Well, at first, the people who are going to use them are going to be people who have lost ordinary function. So like the cochlear implants and the retinal implants, the military is working on some systems to try to help people with impaired memory, to try to replace circuitry that's been destroyed, say, in an attack or something like that. Eventually, in the long term, they're not just going to be replacements, they're going to be enhancements. So, for example, you'll be able to do a Google search and have the answer directly wired into your brain. You won't have to type anything. You won't have to read anything. The answer will be just there. Or if you want to learn golf, then you'll be able to sort of download that skill directly in your brain and not have to practice for a decade.
Incredible societal implications. Thank you so much, Dr. Marcus. Keep us posted on this issue. Thank you.
Thanks very much for having me.